on what humans lacked: unified government, advanced space travel, energy weapons. We failed to recognize what they possessed, that no other species we encountered had developed to the same degree. The chairperson leaned forward. And what was that? Adaptability, Tay said simply. Creative problem-solving. The ability to set aside ancient conflicts to face a common threat. The capacity to understand and repurpose technology without being bound by convention. He pointed to a display showing Earth's rapid technological advancement over the 5 years since the invasion. In 5 years, humans have achieved what took the Nuri 100 years. They've not only mastered our technology, but improved upon it. They've established diplomatic relations with former Dominion worlds. They've begun to create something we never imagined, a cooperative alliance between different species. The chairperson nodded. Continue with your account of the Dominion's collapse. Tay's face grew somber. When the planet Killer's beam struck our homeworld, 15 billion Nuri died in a matter of hours. The High Council, our government, our central archives, all destroyed. Without the homeworld, our carefully structured society collapsed. Images appeared on the chamber's screens. Once proud Nuri colonies in chaos, ships adrift in space, desperate battles for resources. How civilization was built on centralized control and specialization, Tay explained. When that center vanished, we had no ability to adapt. Colonies that had always received food from agricultural worlds starved. Military outposts fought each other for supplies. Knowledge died with specialists who couldn't be replaced. A representative from a formerly conquered world spoke up. You destroyed dozens of civilizations. Perhaps this is justice. Tay didn't argue. Perhaps. But understand, the Nuri never faced true adversity before humanity. We evolved on a world without natural predators. Our early history had no major wars or disasters. We developed space travel before we developed nuclear weapons. He paused, gathering his thoughts. This made us efficient, advanced, but it left us vulnerable. We never learned to adapt because we never needed to. Humans, by contrast, evolved on a world filled with dangers. Your history is a continuous series of challenges overcome, disasters survived, conflicts resolved. The chamber grew quiet as Tay's words sank in. When we arrived at Earth, humanity had already survived ice ages, plagues, world wars. You had nearly destroyed yourselves multiple times, but each crisis made you stronger, more resilient. The very conflicts we saw as weakness had forced you to innovate, to find new solutions, to work together despite your differences. A human scientist who had been instrumental in repurposing Nuri technology spoke up. Our fractured political system actually helped us during the invasion. When you destroyed one nation's command center, others continued fighting. We had no single point of failure. Exactly, Tay acknowledged. The Nuri had one homeworld, one government, one way of thinking. Humanity has thousands of cultures, languages, perspectives. When faced with our technology, you didn't try to understand it the way we built it. You found new applications we never considered. The chairperson checked her notes. According to your testimony, less than 20% of the Nuri population survived the destruction of your homeworld. What remains of your civilization today? Scattered groups, Tay replied quietly. Perhaps 3 billion Nuri spread across former colony worlds. Many have been taken in by the very species we once conquered. Some hide in remote systems. There is no more dominion, just refugees. The weight of his words hung in the air. An entire civilization reduced to fragments in a single day. And what lesson should this council take from your testimony? The chairperson asked. Tay looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of humans and aliens alike. Never mistake technological superiority for evolutionary advantage. The species that survives is not the strongest or most advanced. It's the one most responsive to change. He gestured to the human representatives. You now possess technology. That could make you the new conquerors of the galaxy. Your ships can reach former Nuri worlds in days. Your weapons could destroy any resistance. Yet you've chosen a different path, he continued. Instead of conquest, you've offered alliance. Instead of domination, cooperation. This is your true strength, Not the weapons you've built from our technology, but your capacity to imagine alternatives to conflict. The chairperson nodded slowly. And what of the remaining Nuri? What would you have us do with them, with you? Tay straightened his posture, a shadow of his former military bearing returning. Learn from us. Study our mistakes. The Nuri achieved great things before pride destroyed us. There is knowledge worth preserving. He looked toward the massive windows of the chamber, where Earth was visible, beautiful and blue against the blackness of space. 5 years ago, I watched my world die because we underestimated humanity, Tay said, his voice growing stronger. Don't make the same mistake we did. Don't assume that advancement only follows one path. The galaxy is filled with different forms of intelligence, different ways of solving problems. The chairperson considered his words. This council will deliberate on your testimony. Until then, you will remain under supervision. As guards moved to escort him out, Tay took one last look at the assembled representatives, former enemies now working together to build something new from the ruins of the Dominion. We thought conquest was the natural order, Tay said quietly. You've shown there's another way. Perhaps that's humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy. Not technology or weapons, but hope. As he was led from the chamber, Tay felt something he hadn't experienced since watching his homeworld die. A small flicker of optimism for the future. The Nuri had fallen, but in their place, something better might rise. The reckoning had come, and with it, the chance for a new beginning. EM reached the homeworld 6 hours ago. The planet's core has been destabilized. Massive earthquakes, volcanic eruptions across all continents. The capital city was the first to go. Tay said nothing. What could he say? The Nuri homeworld, the heart of their civilization, home to 15 billion of his people, was dying because of his failure. The colonial governors are requesting instructions, Day continued. Communications are chaotic. No one knows who's in command now that the High Council is gone, Tay finished for him. They're gone, Day. Through the viewport, Tay could still see Earth in the distance, a small blue dot now. The humans had no idea what they'd done. They had simply been trying to survive, to defend their world against invaders. They couldn't have known that by redirecting the planet killer's beam, they had doomed an entire civilization across the galaxy. The pod's communications system beeped again. Multiple signals were coming in now as surviving Nuri ships and colonies tried to make sense of what had happened. Commander, you need to address them, Day urged. You're the highest-ranking military officer left. They need guidance. Tay finally turned from the viewport. His reflection in the metal wall showed a changed man, his once immaculate uniform now torn and stained, his proud posture bent with the weight of responsibility. Open a channel to all Nuri frequencies, he said quietly. The communications panel lit up, indicating a connection to the remains of the once mighty Dominion fleet and their colony worlds. This is Commander Tay of the Earth Invasion Force, he began, his voice finding strength as he spoke. By now you have heard about the homeworld. What you have heard is true. Our planet is lost. He paused, choosing his words carefully. The species we attempted to conquer, humans, turned our own weapon against us. Not through superior technology, but through innovation and cooperation we failed to anticipate. Tay looked at the small blue dot visible through his viewport. I take full responsibility for this failure. We gravely underestimated humanity. Our intelligence classified them as primitive because they lacked unified government, because they fought among themselves, because their technology seemed rudimentary compared to ours. The communications panel showed hundreds of ships and colonies connected to his transmission, listening in stunned silence. We were wrong, Tay continued. Their differences weren't weakness, they were strength. When threatened, they set aside ancient rivalries to work together. Their varied perspectives allowed them to understand our technology faster than any species we've encountered. Their history of struggle made them resilient in ways we never imagined. From another channel, a colonial governor broke in. Commander, without the central government, the colonies cannot survive. Our systems are designed for dependency on the homeworld. I know, Tay acknowledged. Our entire civilization was built on the assumption of our own superiority. We never planned for defeat. As if to emphasize his point, an alert sounded on his console. The small screen showed 3 colony worlds had already descended into chaos, as local authorities fought for control of limited resources. Without the homeworld's direction and support, the carefully ordered Nuri society was collapsing. On another frequency, a military commander demanded, "We must return to Earth with all remaining forces. Make the humans pay for what they've done." Shook his head, even though the other commander couldn't see him. "No, that thinking is what brought us here. We attacked a species that posed no threat to us, and we paid the price for our arrogance." Through the viewport, Tay watched as one of the few remaining Nuri warships drifted past, its hull damaged from the desperate escape from Earth orbit. The once proud vessel was now just another refugee craft, carrying survivors with nowhere to go. "Our civilization as we knew it has ended," Tay said, the truth of it finally sinking in. The dominion that conquered 100 worlds fell to its own weapon, turned against us by a species we dismissed as primitive. The communications system crackled as reports continued to come in. Colony worlds declaring independence. Military. Vessels going rogue. Ancient rivals of the Nuri, long suppressed by Dominion might, beginning to move against former Nuri territories. Officer Day's voice cut through the chaos. "Commander, what are your orders?" Tay looked at the small blue planet once more. In mere weeks, the humans had done what no species had managed in 1,000 years. They had brought down the Nuri Dominion. Not through conquest, but simply by refusing to be conquered. "My orders," Tay said slowly, "are these. All remaining ships will avoid Earth space. Spread word to every colony and outpost. Humanity is not to be engaged. They've earned their freedom." "And the colonies?" Day asked. Tay thought of the rigid hierarchy of Nuri society, the specialization that had made them efficient conquerors but left them unable to adapt. Tell them to learn from humanity. Our strength was our unity, but it became our weakness. We couldn't adapt when our plans failed. The pod systems indicated its life support would last another month, enough time to reach the nearest Nuri outpost if it still existed. "I'm setting course for Earth's moon," Tay announced. "I need to observe them more closely to understand what we missed." "Commander, that's too dangerous," Day protested. "The humans will detect you." "Probably," Tay agreed, "but before our civilization disappears entirely, someone needs to record what happened. Someone needs to understand why the mighty Nuri fell to a species that had barely reached their own moon." As his pod changed course, heading back toward the Earth-Moon system, Tay watched the blue planet grow larger again in his viewport. Somewhere down there, humans were rebuilding, adapting, continuing, unaware that they had not only saved their world but had forever changed the balance of power across the galaxy. "We underestimated humanity," Tay whispered to himself, "and now our world lies in ruins." 5 years had passed since Earth fought off the Nuri invasion. 5 years since humanity discovered they were not alone in the universe. 5 years of rapid advancement as humans adapted and integrated, captured alien technology into their own. In what was once the United Nations General Assembly, now called the Galactic Council Chamber, representatives from 27 formerly conquered worlds sat in a semicircle. At the center stood Tai, thin and aged beyond his years, the highest-ranking survivor of the once mighty Nuri Dominion. "State your name and former rank for the record," said the council chairperson, a human woman whose stern face bore a scar from the early days of the invasion. "I am Tay, former fleet commander of the Nuri Dominion Earth Invasion Force," he replied, his voice steady despite his circumstances. The chamber was silent. Many of the alien representatives leaned forward, seeing for the first time one of their former oppressors brought low. Some showed signs of satisfaction, others simple curiosity. "This council has convened to hear testimony about the former Nuri Dominion," the chairperson continued. "You are the highest-ranking official we have located. Do you understand the gravity of this proceeding?" Tay nodded. "I do." "Then begin. Tell us about the fall of your empire." Tay looked around the room. 5 years ago, such a gathering would have been unthinkable. Formerly subjugated species, sitting as equals alongside humans, who had never before left their solar system. "The Nuri Dominion existed for over 1,000 years," Tay began. We conquered more than 100 worlds. We believed ourselves to be the pinnacle of evolution, the natural rulers of the galaxy. He gestured to the alien representatives. We classified species by their technological advancement, their military capabilities, their social cohesion. We judged humanity to be Class 3, primitive, divided, easy to conquer. A murmur went through the chamber. The human representatives exchanged looks. We were catastrophically wrong, Tay continued. Our assessment focused. A junior communications officer interrupted. Commander, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from Earth's surface. Multiple locations are generating power readings similar to our own technology. Tay rushed to the console. Show me. The screen displayed makeshift human facilities where captured Nuri technology had been combined with Earth equipment. Power readings were climbing rapidly. What are they doing? Tay demanded. The science officer studied the readings, his expression changing from confusion to alarm. They've created a rudimentary version of our shield disruption. Technology. They're aiming it directly at the planet killer. Impossible. Tay slammed his fist on the console. That technology took our scientists 50 years to develop. The humans have had access to our equipment for less than a month. Officer Day spoke quietly. Yet they've done it. The weapons officer called out. Planet killer at 99%. 1 minute to firing sequence. Proceed, Tay ordered. Their primitive copy can't possibly affect our most advanced weapon. The central core of the planet killer began to pulse with blinding energy. On the main view screen, the beautiful blue planet rotated slowly, unaware of its impending doom. Firing. Sequence initiated, announced the weapons officer. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the command ship. The tactical display flashed urgent warnings. Commander, the planet killer's control systems are experiencing unknown errors. Something is infiltrating our network. Tay felt the blood drain from his face. Override. Manual control. Attempting. Override unsuccessful. The targeting system is being recalibrated. The science officer's voice rose in panic. Commander, I've identified the source. The humans have created a digital attack program using fragments of our computer code. They've introduced it into the planet killer's guidance systems. Shut it. Down, Tay shouted. Shut everything down now. We can't, sir. The firing sequence is locked. The target coordinates are changing. On the view screen, the planet killer's energy beams meant to strike Earth suddenly pivoted. The massive weapon turned slowly in space, its deadly focus now aimed toward the Nuri fleet and beyond them toward the distant Nuri homeworld. No, Tay whispered. The communications officer was frantically sending warnings. All ships, emergency evasive maneuvers. Repeat, emergency evasive. A blinding flash of light filled the command deck as the planet killer fired. The energy beam sliced through 2 Nuri warships before disappearing into deep space, traveling at faster-than-light speed toward the distant Nuri home system. Damage report, Tay demanded, picking himself up from the floor where the shockwave had thrown him. 2 ships destroyed instantly, came the reply. The planet killer's energy reserves are depleted. Hits now inert. A heavy silence fell over the command deck. Everyone understood what had just happened. The beam would reach their homeworld in hours, carrying enough energy to crack a planet in half. Emergency communication to the homeworld, Tay ordered, his voice hollow. Warn them, tell them to evacuate the planet immediately. The communications officer worked frantically at his console, then looked up in horror. No response, Commander. The beam has disrupted all faster-than-light communications in its path. Tay sank slowly into his command chair. The humans had not only resisted, they had turned the Dominion's ultimate weapon against them. With a single desperate gambit, they had changed the course of the war. Officer Day approached, his expression grim. Your orders, Commander. Tay stared at the view screen, where Earth continued its peaceful rotation. The humans had no way of knowing what they had just done, the devastation they had just unleashed on a world they had never seen. Prepare my personal shuttle, Tay said quietly. I need to see something. 20 minutes later, Tay's shuttle hovered, high above a human city where fires still burned from earlier Nuri attacks. Despite the destruction, he could see people working together, rebuilding, fighting back. Through the shuttle's enhanced audio sensors, he could hear their communications. Thousands of different voices speaking dozens of languages, yet somehow working in perfect coordination. "We never understood them," Tay said to the pilot. "We saw their differences as weakness, their disunity as a flaw. We were wrong." The shuttle's sensors detected approaching human aircraft. "Should we evade, Commander?" the pilot asked. Tay shook his head. "No. Return to the command ship. Order all remaining vessels to fall back beyond their moon. We need to reconsider everything." As the shuttle turned away from Earth, Tay took one last look at the planet that had brought the mighty Nuri dominion to its knees. The humans had accomplished the impossible, not through superior technology or numbers, but through their inexplicable ability to adapt, to work together despite their differences. "The High Council was wrong," Tay murmured. "They're not Class 3. They're something we've never encountered before." The shuttle docked with the command ship, where the mood was somber. Everyone knew what was coming, what was already racing through space toward their home. Tay opened a channel to all remaining ships. "All vessels, prepare for immediate withdrawal. The conquest of Earth is over." No one questioned the order. The escape pod was cramped and cold, designed for function rather than comfort. Commander Tay sat alone by the small viewport, watching the stars drift by. 3 days had passed since he'd given the order to abandon ship. 3 days since the unthinkable had happened. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission. Tay pressed the receive button without turning from the viewport. "Commander?" It was Officer Day's voice, transmitting from another escape pod somewhere in the darkness. "Our long-range sensors have confirmed it." Tay closed his eyes. "Tell me." There was a pause before Day continued, his voice barely steady. "The energy B." Tay swallowed hard. "The situation has evolved, honored elders. The humans have proven unexpectedly adaptable." He motioned to Officer Day, who projected images of the latest human counterattacks. The footage showed Nuri landing craft being brought down by primitive-looking but devastatingly effective weapons. "They've modified their existing weapons to target our shield frequency vulnerabilities," Tay explained. "Something no Class 3 civilization should be capable of determining." "So quickly?" Elder Rin leaned forward. "So you've lost 11 warships to a species that hasn't even achieved unified space travel. They fight differently than any species we've encountered," Tay said, struggling to maintain his composure. "When we destroy their military bases, they abandon traditional warfare and switch to small mobile units. When we jam their communications, they use old technology, simple radio waves and physical messengers." Officer Day stepped forward. "Most concerning is their rate of technological adaptation. They're capturing our damaged vessels and reverse engineering our technology." The tactical display showed footage of humans wearing modified versions of Nuri armor carrying crude but functional copies of Nuri energy weapons. "This was recorded yesterday," Dai continued, "less than a day after one of our scouts crashed." Elder Sue, the oldest council member, spoke for the first time. "How are they learning our technology so quickly?" "They collaborate," Tay said, the concept still strange to him. "When we began our attack, they set aside their national rivalries. Scientists who were previously competing now work together. Military forces that were enemies now fight side by side." He showed more footage. Humans from different countries, working frantically in makeshift laboratories, testing captured Nuri technology. "They don't specialize like we do," Tay explained. "Their scientists understand multiple disciplines. Their soldiers can operate various weapons. They're flexible in ways our society is not." The command room fell silent as a new alert sounded. A junior officer rushed in, his uniform singed and face smudged with smoke. "Commander, humans have breached our forward base in the region they call Arizona. They've captured our atmospheric processors." Tay closed his eyes briefly. Another failure to report. "How many troops did we lose?" "All of them, sir. The humans used our own energy barriers against us, reversing the polarity to trap our soldiers inside before overrunning the position." Elder Rin's holographic image flickered with fury. "This is unacceptable. A Class 3 civilization does not defeat Nuri elite forces." "They should have surrendered by now," another elder complained. "All previous conquered species Recognize superior force and submit it. Tay gestured to the display showing recent news broadcasts from Earth. Humans view surrender differently. Their historical records, which we've now studied more carefully, show they often fight most fiercely when facing overwhelming odds. The display showed groups of humans building barricades, manufacturing weapons, treating wounded, all with determined expressions. They tell stories of small groups defeating larger forces, Officer Day added. Their cultural mythology celebrates resistance against impossible odds. We didn't account for this psychological factor in our initial assessment. A massive explosion shook the command ship. Tay grabbed the console to steady himself. "Report," he shouted. "Humans have deployed some kind of electromagnetic pulse weapon," the tactical officer replied, fingers flying over controls. "3 of our support ships have lost power and are drifting into Earth's atmosphere." On the main view screen, Tay watched in horror as the disabled Nuri vessels began to burn as they hit the upper atmosphere. No rescue would be possible. "Commander," said Officer Day quietly, "there's something else you should see." The display changed to show orbital images of massive human gatherings. Millions of people stood together in cities across the planet, holding lights in the darkness. "What are they doing?" Tay asked. "It appears to be a morale-building exercise," Day said. "They're singing." The command room filled with the sound of millions of human voices raised together in dozens of languages, somehow forming harmonious sound. Many of the Nuri officers looked uncomfortable at this unfamiliar display. They find strength in their differences, Tay realized aloud. While we demand uniformity, they celebrate variety. Elder Rin's hologram leaned forward. "Enough. Of this anthropological observation. What is your strategy to complete this conquest, Commander?" Tay straightened his spine. "The standard approach is failing. We must deploy the planet killer device." Gasps filled the command room. Even the council members looked shocked. "That weapon is authorized only for Class 1 civilizations that pose an existential threat to the Dominion," Elder Sue said. "With respect, Elder," Tay replied. "If humans continue to adapt at their current rate, they will become exactly that. Already they've begun to understand our shielding technology, our weapon systems, our ship design. Given enough time, they will not only resist us, they may threaten our homeworld." Another explosion rocked the ship, the lights flickered. "They've targeted our power core," someone shouted. Tay turned back to the council. "We severely underestimated humanity. Now we must end this quickly, or we risk losing everything." After a moment of silent communication among themselves, Elder Rin nodded grimly. "The Council authorizes deployment of the planet killer. End this resistance, Commander, immediately." As the hologram faded, Tay looked at the view screen showing Earth below. The beautiful blue world that had seemed so easy to conquer now appeared dangerous, unpredictable. "Prepare the planet killer," he ordered quietly. "We'll position it at these coordinates." As his crew rushed to comply, Tay couldn't shake a growing feeling of dread. The humans had surprised them at every turn. What else might they be capable of? The massive planet killer device hung in space like a metal spider, its 8 enormous legs extending outward from a glowing central core. Commander Tay watched as the final preparations were made. This wasn't how the conquest of Earth was supposed to end, not with the deployment of their most destructive weapon. "Status report," he demanded, his voice tight with stress. "Planet killer at 97% charge, Commander," replied the weapons officer. "Targeting system locked on Earth's tectonic boundaries. Once deployed, the energy wave will destabilize their continental plates while preserving surface resources." Officer Day approached quietly, keeping his voice low. "Commander, is this truly necessary? The humans fight well, but they cannot leave their planet. We could simply withdraw and quarantine this system." Tay shot him a warning look. "The High Council has spoken. Humanity has proven too dangerous to be allowed to develop further. Their adaptability poses a threat to the entire Dominion." On the tactical screen, red dots indicated human resistance forces advancing on the few remaining Nuri ground bases. 18 Nuri warships had been lost, more than half their invasion fleet. Nothing in their 1,000 years of conquest had prepared them for this level of resistance from a supposedly primitive species. "How long until the device is fully operational?" Tay asked. 12 minutes, Commander." Tay nodded and turned to address the command deck. This will be recorded as our most difficult campaign, but history will show we did what was necessary. The humans simply couldn't accept their place in the natural order. Commander Tay stood at the viewport of his massive starship, looking down at the blue planet spinning below. Earth, they called it. He smoothed the front of his uniform and allowed himself a small smile. This mission would bring him great honor among the Nuri people. "Commander, all ships report ready for deployment," said Officer Day, stepping up beside him. "The humans have detected our presence in orbit, but their response is disorganized. Their global communications networks are flooding with panic." Tay nodded. "As expected, begin recording for the High Council archives." The small drone hovering nearby blinked with a red light, indicating it was capturing his words and image for posterity. The Nuri were meticulous about documenting their conquests. "High Council members, I stand before you at the beginning of what will surely be the swiftest annexation in Dominion history." Tay spoke clearly, his posture perfect. "After 3 cycles of observation, we confirm that humans are exactly as our probes suggested, technologically primitive, politically fragmented, and militarily weak." Tay gestured to the tactical display showing Earth's continents and major cities. "Their weapons are chemical-based projectiles and crude explosives. Their aircraft cannot leave the atmosphere. Their space stations are primitive habitats with no defensive capabilities." Officer Day presented a data tablet showing population centers and military bases. Tay continued, "We've identified 127 nation-states with no unified planetary government. Most remarkable is their continuous warfare against each other, with at least 12 active conflicts happening as I speak." Tay walked across the command deck, passing junior officers working at their stations. The massive windows showed Earth growing larger as their fleet moved into lower orbit. The humans possess resources valuable to the Dominion: water, rare, minerals, and a compatible atmosphere. "Their population will provide adequate labor for our mining operations," Tay said, his voice cool and efficient. "Based on their limited technological development, we predict complete surrender within 7 days of initial contact." A younger officer approached nervously. "Commander, we're detecting increased radio communications between human military bases. They appear to be coordinating." Tay waved dismissively. "Their coordination is meaningless. Our intelligence shows their most powerful nations refuse to share military technology, even with allies. They cannot mount an effective defense." The tactical officer called out, "First wave of ships in position, Commander." "Begin the demonstration," Tay ordered. On his command, 3 Nuri vessels positioned themselves above a small uninhabited island in what humans called the Pacific Ocean. Green beams of energy shot downward, and within seconds, the island disappeared beneath the waves. "A simple display of power," Tay explained to the recording drone. "Humans respond to shows of force. Our cultural analyses indicate they understand hierarchy and submission." The communications officer spoke up. "Commander, we're receiving thousands of transmissions from the planet they're trying to communicate." "Ignore them," Tay said. "Prepare the primary landing forces for deployment near their largest population centers. We'll accept their surrender at our base camp." Officer Day looked troubled. "Commander, our scouts report the humans are evacuating cities rather than preparing surrender terms." "They'll realize the futility soon enough," Tay replied. "No species has ever successfully resisted the Nuri Dominion. The High Council classified Earth as a Class 3 civilization, barely worth military consideration. Our 30 warships represent overwhelming force." The tactical display showed the first wave of landing craft descending toward Earth's surface. Tay watched with satisfaction as they entered the atmosphere. "Commander," the weapons officer's voice cut through the calm of the command deck. "Human aircraft are approaching our landing craft." Tay frowned. "Show me." The screen displayed small, primitive jets rising to meet the Nuri ships. "Their aircraft can't even reach orbit. What do they hope to accomplish?" The answer came moments later when several landing craft exploded. The command deck fell silent. "Impossible," Tay whispered. "Their weapons are ineffective against our shields." "They've modified their missiles," the tactical officer reported, voice shaking. "They're generating electromagnetic pulses before impact. Our landing craft shields weren't calibrated for that specific attack." Tay's confidence wavered for the first time. How could they know? How could they possibly know our vulnerability? Officer Day checked another report coming in. Commander, human nations are sharing information at unprecedented speeds. They've pooled military resources and abandoned previous conflicts. They can't maintain unity, Tay insisted. Our cultural analysis shows humans are naturally territorial and distrustful of each other. Something's changed, sir. They're broadcasting unified messages now, all in the same language. Tay stared at the planet below, his certainty beginning to crack. The humans were adapting faster than any species they'd encountered before. This wasn't in any of their reports. Adjust shield frequencies and continue the landing, he ordered. They've had one small victory, it won't happen again. But as he watched more human aircraft rise to meet his forces, Tay felt the first prickle of doubt. The Nuri had conquered 100 worlds before this one. None had offered meaningful resistance. We may have underestimated them, Officer Day said quietly. Tay straightened his uniform again, refusing to show concern before his crew. Perhaps, but they've only delayed the inevitable. No primitive species can stand against the full might of the Nuri Dominion. As night fell over half the planet, Earth cities went dark, denying the Nuri thermal targeting systems clear objectives. It was a simple tactic, but effective. Another sign of adaptation. Tay watched the planet rotate slowly below them. What had seemed like an easy conquest suddenly felt uncertain. The humans were showing unexpected resourcefulness. Prepare the second wave, he ordered. We'll show them what happens when you resist the Dominion. But deep inside, a new feeling was growing, one unfamiliar to any Nuri commander leading an invasion force. It took Tay several moments to recognize it. It was worry. 3 weeks into what should have been a simple conquest, Commander Tay stood rigidly before the holographic projection of the Nuri High Council. The faces of the 7 elders showed a mixture of disbelief and growing anger. "Explain yourself, Commander," said Elder Rin, her voice cutting through the command room. "Your last report promised swift victory. Now you request reinforcements?"